Welcome back to Elite Sports Talk. So today is June 3rd, and on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about NBA offseason, NHL Finals, which began last night, and it was an incredible game. Then we're going to go to the NBA Finals, which starts tonight between the Knicks and the Spurs. Then we're going to go over a little bit of what's going on in the NFL. And then I got a couple more things after that we may get to. I want to talk about my picks for the upcoming games for both the NHL and the NBA Finals. And if we got time, today in sports history. I tried to get to that the last time, and honestly, I completely forgot about it before I ended. So, just remember, you can find Elite Sports Talk wherever you can find podcasts, like Spotify. You can also find me on all the social media platforms under Elite Sports Talk. You could watch the episodes rather on Rumble, YouTube, and I also live stream on Kick and Twitch, which I'm doing right now. And if all goes well, hopefully I'm also live streaming on TikTok right now. So let's go ahead and get into some of the NBA offseason stuff. So, there's been a lot of trade rumors swirling for months now, really, about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it doesn't look likely that he's going to remain a Milwaukee Buck. And, he's said it before in the past. If he were to leave Milwaukee, he would rather be in a place, a bigger city, a bigger market team like maybe Boston, Miami, maybe even Minnesota, which that I don't think he has said, but I feel like it makes a lot of sense to see somebody like him paired with Ant Edwards, maybe to help Minnesota Timberwolves get over the hump that they keep running into a brick wall. It seems like between the second and the third round of the NBA playoffs each year. And the last place is, the New York Knicks maybe. So I feel like when it comes to the Knicks, I think right now they're in the finals. So obviously, if they win, that's something that he would want to do. I would think Giannis would want to go there. And I think that there could even be a pathway to get him there. Now, not saying that the salary is, the same equivalency with Kat and Giannis, but I think that would probably be the best move. Certainly if the Knicks don't win the NBA Finals, maybe they try to pursue something like that and try to go after Giannis for Kat, and then they would probably also have to either involve a third team, or maybe they would even have to, just send, trade picks along with multiple players in order to take on Giannis's salary. I'm not really sure what that exactly would look like. However, I did just see earlier, there was something going around that it looks like could, this is just somebody talking. This isn't anything real yet as of right now. I can't find it, dang. But it looked like maybe there could be a 3-team trade between the Atlanta Hawks and the Celtics and Milwaukee, which would possibly send Giannis to the Celtics, send Jaylen Brown to Atlanta, and then send a couple of people from Atlanta back to Milwaukee. I think there was also a couple of draft picks involved or something like that. I don't think that would be too far-fetched because, again, it's not unusual to see multiple, 3-team trades. At one point, there was, a 4 or 5-team trade. The NBA actually does that a lot, or has done that a lot over the years. So I don't think that's out of the question, but I really don't think that Giannis is going to remain in Milwaukee for much longer. By the start of the season, I would assume that he would be gone. And so let's take a look at the Pistons, right? So the Detroit Pistons, I think they got a little bit further than people may have thought going into this year in terms of into the playoffs. They were the number one team in the East for much of, if not the entire season this year. They struggled in the first round of the playoffs. They came back being down 3-1 to the Orlando Magic. And then, they ended up playing the Cavaliers in the second round. And honestly, they should have won that series. But I still don't know that they would have been able to beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Championship. So, what exactly do they need to do next year to up their level of gameplay to get to, the finals, or at least get to the next round, which will put them in the Eastern Conference Finals? And, I think maybe they need to add somebody else, maybe add another veteran. People have been saying a lot recently that maybe Jalen Duren, maybe he isn't, the guy that they thought he was. Maybe they need more than just him. I say pump the brakes on that, because I like Jalen Duren. I think he was an incredible player in the regular season. He left a lot to be desired when it came time for the playoffs. But he's somebody that I would like to see the chemistry between him and Cade Cunningham grow. And like I said, I think just adding another veteran to that lineup would do wonders for them. And other than that, I mean, you can't deny how great Detroit was for basically the entirety of the season until they got to the playoffs. And really, I guess it was before the playoffs, because they started to struggle a little bit with Cade on the sidelines with that injury. Cade Cunningham looked like he was one of the top guys, front runners for MVP this season, up until that injury happened. But yeah, so I think that really that's the best thing for Detroit going forward, to just add a veteran, trust the process with what they already have. They have a great young core. Thompson looked great, Asur Thompson. At times that he also left some stuff, left a lot on the plate. He's really good, though, defensively. He led them in steals in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure. And, like I said, I think they just need more time to gain that cohesiveness as a whole unit and gain that chemistry that could eventually maybe bring them to the finals, or even maybe win them a championship. But they have a superstar in Cade Cunningham, and as long as he's there, they're going to have, a window for the foreseeable future for them to get to the finals and possibly achieve, the goal that they have set for themselves that we really have not seen Detroit do since, the early 2000s, I believe. So now what about the Cavaliers? What do the Cavaliers need to do for the same thing, to get over this block that they keep running into a wall? They went out and they ended up getting James Harden. They brought him in. They have two big men that are I want to call them elite, in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and Spida. And Donovan Mitchell, he's a great point guard. I don't know, like Harden, it seems like come playoff time, Harden is always this elite scorer, especially in the regular season. He's more than likely he's going to be a Hall of Famer. How can he not, with everything he's done in his career? But he always seems to struggle in the playoffs and at times completely disappear. And, people were making a big thing about it, maybe the coach needed to have him come off the bench, maybe bring in Dennis Schroeder, or maybe bring in Max Strus, or God, I forget the other guard, but bring in somebody else, and maybe have Harden in for less minutes. And maybe that could have helped them. Maybe that could have got them a little bit further. I don't know if I believe that, but, maybe try different lineups. Maybe have Harden. I don't know, man. It's crazy because James Harden is going to go down as a Hall of Famer. And again, he's one of the, elite scorers of this generation. It didn't work out in Philly, didn't work out in Houston. The Clippers, he was there. He started to turn the team around in the beginning of the season when they started 15 games under 500. But it didn't work there either. The furthest they got in the playoffs was the year that they ended up running into the Denver Nuggets. I believe it was the year that the Nuggets won the championship back in 2023. And so I don't really know how to answer that one. Maybe we'll see something unexpected, something that analysts have been kind of talking about maybe could possibly happen, which is like LeBron maybe going back home to Cleveland for his last year. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if that's something that would happen. And if that were to, would they still be able to keep Harden and Donovan Mitchell and everybody that they already have? Because they have a lot of depth, which is why they look like a team that we could have been possibly talking about right now tonight, coming out of the East. But yeah, so I don't know. They got it. There's something that they're missing that they need to add something to the recipe. But I wouldn't give up on them yet, Cavs fans. And, hopefully they make some changes in the offseason. I like the coach. I like the roster that they have. They just need just a little something. That's all they need to get them to the next level. But you're still going to have Detroit. The Sixers started to surprise people. We don't know what that's going to look like, if they're going to hold on to Embiid. Boston, you figure, is going to be in it every year. The Knicks, certainly now that we see how great that they have really turned into this team that we were hoping that we would see for the past couple of seasons. But yeah, and then let's see, the last thing I wanted to get to for the NBA offseason. So, obviously the Spurs did for, a large percentage of people probably thought was unthinkable to take down SGA and the OKC Thunder. And, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked because, like I said last year, the Denver Nuggets were a hamstring away with Aaron Gordon getting hurt from taking OKC down, and they would not have been the eventual champions. Their team looked a little bit different, obviously, in the postseason this year than last year. Chet Holmgren, that was not a good matchup at all for him against Wemby. And it was proven time and time again through every game, all 7 games. So I don't know, what you do with that. But what I do know is they have a lot of draft compensation. They have a ton of talent on that roster. So nobody's going to sit here and say that they're done. Their run is over. I don't know if they're going to be a dynasty, which people were trying to compare them to the Chicago Bulls after winning just one championship last year. But, for SGA, second straight year for him to get an MVP. He is the 14th player to win back-to-back MVPs. 16 players have won multiple MVPs. But my whole thing is, should Shea really have been the MVP this year? Because in previous seasons, I've gotten into debates with people, and whenever Nikola Jokic was winning all his MVPs, which, again, in my personal opinion, he should have 5 of the last 6 years, if not 5 or 6 consecutive MVPs. And, people were saying for a while, how can this man be the MVP if he's sitting home come time for the finals? Well, that's exactly what just happened with SGA, right? So anybody that was rooting for SGA last year over Jokic or this year over Jokic, guess what? Now you tell me the same thing that you've been asking me. How is it possible that SGA deserved to be the MVP when really he didn't lead the league in any statistical category this year? Maybe most flops, maybe most free throws, and I get it, right? Normally the guy that leads the league in scoring, which was Luka, it was not SGA this year. They're gonna have a lot of free throws. It just kind of goes with that. That's just what happens. So again, I get that, but in my opinion, if not Jokic, it's kind of hard to say that Wemby shouldn't have got it this year. And I think he did end up qualifying. I think he got one game, or the exact amount of games, either 65 or 66 games, I believe, is what he ended up playing this year. Jokic was right on the line at 65. Like we already talked about Cade. I think Cade would have been a great option had he not have missed too many games. But yeah. So that's all I got for the NBA offseason. Now let's get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So as you just seen, the route for both of these teams to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, the Vegas Golden Knights started their playoff run against the Utah Mammoth, where they ended up taking them out in 6 games. Then they moved on to the Anaheim Ducks in the second round, the team that had actually swept them 3-0 in the regular season. Though, things started to unravel for the Ducks towards the end of the year. They went from first in the Pacific to third in the Pacific. And Vegas really caught fire, man. Carter Hart caught fire. When they fired Bruce Cassidy and brought in John Tortorella, he really, put fire underneath of these guys. And we've seen it all throughout the playoffs. And then after they, sent the Ducks home in 6, then they obviously, in the Western Conference Finals, they swept the Colorado Avalanche, who many people were saying could have went down as one of the best teams in NHL history, certainly after the regular season that they had. They led the league in so many categories, especially goals per game. And, then you look at the Eastern Conference and you look at how Carolina got where they're at. They swept the Ottawa Senators. They swept the Philadelphia Flyers. And then they went, I believe it was 12 or 13 days they went without playing a single playoff game before they ended up meeting with the Montreal Canadiens in the Eastern Conference Finals. And yeah, that first game, they had 6 scores scored on them, and Frederik Andersen, other than really that game to that point, had been almost perfect, man. He had been incredible, but then they sent them packing after only 5 games. So, now we're in the Stanley Cup Finals last night. It was an incredible game. But before I get to that, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the Carolina Hurricanes here with some of these notable stats and stuff here. So, let's see here. Rob Brendamore. Okay, this guy, man, heck of a coach. But obviously, prior to coaching, he had a lengthy career in the NHL. He played 21 seasons, most notably with the Philadelphia Flyers. He also played 10 seasons with the Carolina Hurricanes. He captained the Hurricanes to their first ever Stanley Cup in 2006, leading the entire league with 12 playoff goals during that run. Career totals across 1,484 regular season games with St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Carolina. He recorded 1,184 points. 452 of them were goals, 732 assists. He was awarded the Frank J. Selke Trophy as the NHL's best defensive forward in consecutive years, which was the 06 and the 07 seasons. And as a coach, he seamlessly transitioned from player to assistant in 2011, and then head coach 2018. He obviously, has completely revitalized this entire franchise. He's been present for 93 of the 95 all-time playoff wins in franchise history. 39 of them came as a player, 54 as their head coach. He has guided Carolina to the postseason in every single season since taking the helm. Fastest head coach to 300 wins. In December 2024, that's when he achieved that feat. Milestone. He achieved that milestone in just 488 games. It's pretty crazy. 488 games, 300 wins. So, yeah, man. Let's see what else we got here. During the 25-26 season, he reached 600 career games coached, setting an NHL record for the most wins by any head coach for their first 600 career games with 367 wins. And he also won the Jack Adams Award, which is for the Coach of the Year in 2021 after leading the team to a dominant Central Division title. And then I also have some stuff here, like I was just talking about their goalie, Frederik Andersen, who, again, if you don't know and you haven't watched this show before, I am an Anaheim Ducks fan, and I can say with pride that we did actually, I'm pretty sure we drafted Frederik Andersen back in the day. I know he played with them for a few years. Him and John Gibson were together. And boy, do I wish that, nothing against the goalies we have now. I really like the backup guys. I really like those style. But Frederik Andersen, man, has had a surprisingly difficult regular season, posting only a .874 save percentage and 3.05 goals against in 35 games for the Hurricanes. However, he completely flipped the script come playoff time. He has been dominant so far, leading Carolina to the Stanley Cup final with a 12-1 record, a 1.41 goal against average, and a .931 save percentage. And let's see what else here. He's on a historic pace, 12 wins through the first, now 14 games. It makes him just the third goaltender in NHL history to achieve this feat, joining Ken Dryden in 1976 and Jerry Cheevers in 1970. He recorded 3 shutouts through the Eastern Conference bracket, helping the Hurricanes reach the finals for the first time since 06. He was perfect in overtime, a 5-0 record, stopped all 33 overtime shots he's faced. He has also boasted a league-best .940 save percentage, 5-on-5 save percentage, and a .974 save percentage in close, high-leverage situations. Long-range efficiency. So he has stopped, according to NHL Edge stats, he has stopped all 47 long-range shots he has faced in the playoffs, making him the only goalie with over 5 games played to not allow a single long-range goal. So again, man, it's nothing we haven't known about. But, going into last night, okay, now it gets a little tricky, right? Because we started talking about all the great stuff. Last night, he had a bad game. He had a bad game in the first round of the Eastern Conference Finals against Montreal, letting up 6 goals. Last night, Carolina started the game off great, man. It was 25 seconds in. and I believe it was Ehlers scored the first goal. He actually scored the first 2 goals of the game. So they were up 2-0. It ended up 2-1 at the first intermission. Coming into the third period, however, the Golden Knights had scored 3 goals in the second period, so they were up 3-2. It ended up where Carolina tied the game up with not a lot of time left in the third period. They knotted it at 4 goals apiece. And then, obviously Tomas Hertl, great assist, by the way, by Sessions. But Tomas Hertl, he had the game winner. I believe it was a little under a minute left in the game. So, okay, Vegas takes the first game. But again, we've seen this in the last round. Now, I'm not saying that Carolina is going to come back and, take Vegas down in 5 games. This is a completely different team than the Montreal Canadiens. This team has been bred for championship runs. And although I believe it's 14 players differ from their last run to the Stanley Cup for Vegas, this is why they made the change at the end of the year. This is why they fired Bruce, and this is why they brought in, Torts. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And ordinarily, I would be on the side of the team from the Western Conference because, like I said, for pretty much my whole life almost, I have been an Anaheim Ducks fan. And since it's been about a decade since they had made the playoffs before this year, I had been rooting for Edmonton come time for the playoffs because not only because of how great Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are, but also for the fact that they had the worm for the past 2 years in the Stanley Cup Finals. If you don't know, that's the nickname for Corey Perry, who also came into the NHL by way of the Anaheim Ducks. And, so I would normally be rooting for the team in the West, but I also, as a kid, before Anaheim came into the league, I did like the Flyers. John LeClair was my favorite player, but I liked Rob Brennan more. So, that plus they have Frederik Andersen. They have a couple of guys I like. So I'm going to ride with Carolina. I'm not going to say how many games I think they'll win in. I will tell you my picks for the next couple of games now at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. And, I think that's everything I got now for the NHL. Obviously, the next game is going to be tomorrow night, Game 2 in Carolina. And like I said, I'll get to my picks in a little while. Now we're going to go back to the hardwood to talk a little bit more about now the NBA Finals. So, again, I mean, as the graphic just showed, as you've seen there, this is actually... It's a weird coincidence, man, because it's the same matchup that we got in the NBA in-season tournament. Obviously, that game, if you did not know that game, the stats of that game, the win, which the Knicks won that game, none of that counted towards the NBA season with the stats or the records. But, the teams were a lot different at that point in the season. Certainly the Knicks look like a much better team than they were then. And they did beat, counting that game, which you really can't count, but counting that game, they beat the Spurs 2-1 this season. The Spurs actually had this exact matchup back in 1999, and San Antonio beat the New York Knicks in 5 games to win the title. That roster was completely different. That was a historic roster. Not to say that this one could not be, because we are seeing some historic things out of the San Antonio Spurs, certainly out of Victor Wembanyama. And Also, the other thing, which is kind of a crazy stat, whether you know it or not, in Game 1s of the NBA Finals, the San Antonio Spurs are actually undefeated. They're a perfect 6-0. So we'll see if they can make that 7-0 tonight. I will tell you my pick for this game in a little bit. Also, the Knicks are currently riding, which is crazy, an 11-game win streak. To start Game 1 tonight. But, so, couple of things here. I want to talk about Wemby. We know how great, Jalen Brunson is and the Knicks and all of that. But Wemby has been doing so many impressive things, man. This guy is just incredible. And it's nothing we hadn't heard before he came into the league. Especially if you watch FIBA, you would have seen him prior to him coming into the league. If you don't watch, overseas Europe basketball, and the first time you seen him was on an NBA court, and you're watching a game with the Spurs, and you're like, whoa, what is this guy? 7'8"? What is this guy? Well, he's not 7'8". He's close. He's 7'5". And, yeah, man, he's doing some crazy things. So I seen a graphic the other day, and this is one thing that's pretty cool. So when you think about great players in the history of the NBA and how many years it took them before they got, to debut for the NBA Finals, you go back to MJ, Michael Jordan. Still to this day, everybody says pretty much he's the best of all time. If not him, people try to say LeBron and, whatever. But for MJ, it took him 7 years. It's his 7th season for his first NBA Finals. Kobe Bryant, it was his 4th season that he got to the NBA Finals. Same thing for LeBron. It was his 4th season. For Wemby, now this is his 3rd season. So that's more so just something that it's cool to know, but let's keep that in the back of our heads for down the road. And then you look at Defensive Player of the Year. He became the first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year in NBA history. He also unanimously won the 2023-24 Rookie of the Year award, followed by an NBA All-Rookie First Team nod, All-NBA and All-Star. He earned All-NBA First Team honors and multi-year selections to the NBA All-Star Game. Again, this is his 3rd season. All-Defensive Team, became the youngest player and the first rookie in league history to be named to the NBA All-Defensive First Team in 2024, and then earning the honor again this year in 2026. Historical statistical milestones, record-breaking blocks. He led the NBA in blocks per game in each of his first 3 seasons, an achievement unmatched by any early career contemporaries. Achieved rare 5x5 statistical milestones in, 5x5 statistical milestones in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, including a 25-point, 10-rebound, 5-assist, 5-block, and 5 3-pointer game, a stat line only he has accomplished, nobody else in the history of basketball. He also had an insane game on Christmas. He recorded 42 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks in his Christmas Day debut, joining only Will Chamberlain and Nikola Jokic as the only other players in the history of basketball to record a 40 and 15 stat line on Christmas Day. Conference Finals MVP. He was just named the Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals MVP after leading them, to the finals and, taking out the champions of last season, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in 7 games. He anchored the Spurs' postseason run with dominant stat lines, including an unforgettable 41-point, 24-rebound, 3-block performance in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And again, it's only his 3rd year in, and all that, not even mentioning the fact that he set an all-time record for most blocks in a playoff game. I believe it was 2 or 3 people that were tied that had 10 blocks. He had 12 blocks in a game, and I believe it was in the Western Conference Finals, was it not? Maybe it was in the round, maybe it was in the first round against Portland. I forget which round it was, but so yeah, he like shattered that record. 12 blocks in a playoff game, that's insane. That's insane in a regular game, a regular season, let alone a playoff game. But yeah, man, like I said, he's an incredible player. If you have not seen him yet, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're watching. Even if you don't watch basketball, I've been saying it before for years now. I've been advocating for people that don't watch basketball, just turn on a Nikola Jokic game. And I promise you, even if you don't want to watch another team, you'll be hooked. I mean, LeBron is still over 40 and he's still playing great ball. But yeah, if that's not your thing, Nikola Jokic is spectacular. And if that's not your thing, you got to see Wemby, man. It's unreal. The God-given ability and how he can do everything. He accounts for his whole team's defense. Not to say that the team around him isn't great defensively, because they are. They're one of the best defenses in the league this year. That's one of the main reasons they are where they're at. But yeah, going into tonight, you know, that's a matchup that really is intriguing, that I want to see what happens between Cat and Wemby. Cat's a very good player, man. I don't know what they're going to do to try to stop Wemby. I don't think you can completely stop him. And in terms of like Jalen Brunson, for example, so he has always had difficulties on the defense end, right? Well, offensively, if he's going to struggle on defense, you know, that's one thing. But offensively, he cannot struggle. If he does, the Knicks will struggle throughout this series. Especially with Wemby, I'm assuming, is going to be the one guarding Cat. I don't know if they're going to try to do packages where they have multiple bigs in, where they would have Mitchell Robinson, who's just coming off of a hand surgery, I believe, on his pinky. So I think it's gonna be a great series. But Jalen Brunson, back to my point, you know, I think anybody that the Spurs have really can guard Brunson and kind of, you know, limit him, if not maybe shut him down. I'm talking Stephon Castle. I'm talking Devin Vassell. I'm talking De'Aaron Fox. They got guys, man. They also have some veterans coming off the bench in Harrison Barnes, who I believe already won a ring when he was back with Golden State. They also have a plethora. I believe they have like 5 centers on their team, man. Who do they have? Bismack Biyombo, I think they have Luke Cornett, who had that incredible block in the last round on Isaiah Hartenstein, I believe it was. They have so much depth. I mean, the Knicks have depth too. And let's see what we get out of Mikal Bridges. Let's see what Josh Hart does. OG Anunoby, he's been kind of like the number one guy in the playoffs, really. Not only for the Knicks, but for quite some time, it was looking like he was the best player in the entire playoffs so far. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, it sucks that my team's not in it, but I'm excited. And I'm on the East Coast. So, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it'd be cool if the Knicks did win. Either way, it don't really make much of a difference to me. But when I was a kid, I did like the Spurs. You know, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili was one of my favorite players. Tony Parker. They had Boris Diaw. They had Kawhi Leonard towards the end of that run there is when they got him. They had Danny Green. They had some guys, man. And so it's cool to see that Popovich era, even though it, you know, kind of ended. I mean, he's not the head coach anymore. But, you know, you have to think to a degree that Mitch has learned so much from Popovich, and now, not that he was really a part of the Popovich tree, because I believe he was only there for 1 year, but the assistant coach to Mitch is now, he just got hired a couple of days ago, I believe, as the new head coach for the Orlando Magic. Sean Sweeney, I believe his name is. So, I mean, yeah, it's cool to see this, but at the same time for the Knicks, it's cool to see, that Brown, after all the bad hands he was dealt, seemingly, he was pretty decent as the head coach for Cleveland Cavaliers. He was with a couple of teams. I do remember the run with De'Aaron Fox, actually, and Malik Monk and some of these other guys when he was the Sacramento Kings coach. I believe he was only there for 1 year, and he got them to the playoffs, and that seemingly came out of, nowhere. So I'm actually also happy for him as well. But yeah, it's a very exciting time for the NBA to see these two teams meeting when these were the exact two teams that we seen in the in-season tournament championship. But yeah, so that's all I got for that. Now I'm going to head to some NFL headlines. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, everybody knows NFL's king. NFL's coming quick, right around the corner. We're already, like I said, it's the 3rd of June, and, we only have a couple of months. We know, what we do know is that the Steelers are kind of loaded now at the skilled position. It's going to be really cool to see Aaron Rodgers coming back for what he already said is going to be his last season, and also to, reunite with Mike McCarthy, who the two of them together won a Super Bowl. I believe it was 2 Super Bowls that they went to. They won one of them. And, I think with the receiver room that they have now, with not just one but 2 basically number 1 receivers, 2 veteran guys that we have not seen out of the black and gold for a very long time, to have 2 great receivers like this, and Michael Pittman and obviously DK Metcalf. They also have a hell of a tight end room. We've seen Washington coming on strong last year, who was actually the 3rd tight end, I believe, on their roster. Geno Smith is no longer there, but they do still have Freiermuth. Then they added with the running backs, and Jeremy Bernard that they just got from I want to say Georgia. I might be wrong, but the rookie, who also looks like he will have a pretty good career in the NFL. And I feel like this is the perfect offense for them to have with Mike McCarthy. Not just the fact that they already have some of that chemistry between Rodgers and McCarthy that they had for so many years in Green Bay. So he's going to know exactly what Aaron likes to do and what he doesn't like. It might be a little bit different, obviously, as he's much older at this point now in his career. But also, with Aaron knowing what Mike McCarthy likes, what his system is, the ins and the outs of everything. But then they also, like I said, they added to the running back room. They still have Jalen Warren. They still have the kid that was the rookie last year, Caleb Johnson, I believe his name is. And I don't know that he's really going to get any meaningful playing time this year. But then they also went out and got the running back that used to be with Dallas and was with Carolina last year, Enrico Dowdle, who had 1,000 yards last year, and he was actually the number 2 running back for the Panthers. So, I mean, yeah, man, they, I don't know, so how far can they go, though? That's the realistic, thing that you got to think about. I mean, they won the division last year, and a lot of people didn't think they would. I didn't. I certainly didn't. I knew that they would go to the playoffs. I thought the Ravens were going to be still the king of that AFC North division. I still kind of think that going into this year, even under a new regime. So it's going to be tough. Cincinnati kind of revamped their defense. Finally, people have been waiting for this for years. So it's kind of tough, man. I think that, I don't know, because like the AFC West last year, you would have thought 3 teams were going to come out of the West to make the playoffs. The year before, there was 3 teams. So I don't know that you could say that maybe 3 teams will make it from the AFC North. So it's going to be tough, but I want to say that they will at least get to the playoffs again. I think because it's a different offense, it's going to be slightly different with defense. A lot of the personnel on defense is going to be the same. They just re-signed Nate Herbig, which is actually more of a depth player as an edge rusher, outside linebacker, I believe. They just brought in a guy who had played for the Green Bay Packers in the past, a DB, Darnell Savage. So he has some familiarities with Aaron Rodgers and probably Mike McCarthy. I don't know though. I think that they will be in the postseason. If everything goes right for them, I don't think it's extremely far-fetched to say that maybe they could, make it to the Super Bowl. But again, this offense is largely different than what Aaron had last year, and it's different than what he had with the Jets. So I think it gives them the ability to have more points per game, and the defense, I don't know, the difference in if the scheme is going to be different with this defensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin kind of always ran the roost for the defense, and you always knew it was going to be a stout defense. So at this point in time, I can't give a definitive answer, but what I can say is I think that they'll make the postseason. I just don't know if they're going to end up winning the AFC North. Then let's get to a couple of huge trades happened. So Myles Garrett, if you did not hear, has finally got a chance with a Super Bowl contender as he was traded to the Los Angeles Rams. And in return, the Cleveland Browns got Jared Verse, a first-round draft pick, 2027, 2028 second-round draft pick, and a 2029 third-round draft pick. So now the question is, does a 35-year-old future Hall of Famer, quite possibly the best defensive tackle that has ever played the game of football, in Aaron Donald, will he want to come out of retirement? And you got to think, like, if you are a fan of any other team in the NFC, especially any team in the NFC West, you're praying that this doesn't come true, because if it does, I feel like right now, again, today, June 3rd, if this happens, you pretty much have a clear path to the Super Bowl, barring any significant injuries, with the way their offense is, with Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, and obviously on either side you have future Hall of Famer receivers in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Now they brought in a couple of guys at tight end. I believe they drafted somebody this year and last year. They already had Higbee. I don't know if he's still on the roster. I believe he is, as a safety valve rather, for Matthew Stafford across the middle. But yeah, man, so with everything they already had going for them, and then now you go from Jared Verse, which was, he's a great guy, man. He's a great edge rusher, but he was like more of a bull rusher. Myles Garrett has had, I believe the number was like 83 sacks over the past 5 seasons. Obviously, last year he set a record for the most in a season in NFL history now. He's going to go down as probably a top 5, top 3 defensive player all time in league history when it's all said and done. So if you were to get Aaron Donald to come back, and rush the middle, the line's going to break down. I don't think the best offensive lines in the league right now would be able to contain both Aaron Donald coming up the middle and Myles Garrett coming from one side. And, hey, Braden Fisk, he's, no chump either, man. He's also a very talented edge rusher. So we'll see what happens with that, man. But I'm very intrigued. I'm excited for football, man. I can't wait. And lastly, for the NFL here, so this one we've known this was going to happen for several months now. You heard it from all the top guys, all the top NFL analysts and NFL insiders. The Philadelphia Eagles traded A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots for a 2028 first round and a 2027 fifth round pick. And so, AJ is already pretty happy that he's a New England Patriot, and, that's great for him, And I'm not an Eagles fan, but what I will say is, I don't think that, you're going to be missing an extra element here to this offense, but this offense is going to be completely different. And every single season since Jalen Hurts has been in the league, he's had a different OC. This is no different. He's got a new OC again this year in Sean Mannion. He spent time with Minnesota. He spent time with not San Francisco. Who did he just come from? The Rams, maybe. He's been around the league. He played quarterback for a while himself. But this offense is going to be unlike any offense that Jalen Hurts has ever ran. It's going to be a lot more on Jalen. In the past couple of years, it was, people were coming out saying that Jalen Hurts was being limited. Or maybe he was limiting the offense because he couldn't run certain types of offense. I don't think that's true. I respect Jalen Hurts. He's already outplayed Mahomes in 2 different Super Bowls and beat Mahomes in one of those Super Bowls. They still have Saquon Barkley as a top 3 running back in the league right now today. They still have a great, probably top 10, if not top 5 offensive line, even with an aging Lane Johnson. And this receiver room, when you really look at the receiver room that they have now without AJ, they still have Devontae, which still has chemistry for years has had chemistry with Jalen Hurts going back to Alabama. They have a couple of young guys. One guy, I believe his name is Darius Cooper. I think that we should be looking at him. Last year he was a rookie and he was really showing some signs that he could be something special in the next couple of years. And then they also just drafted a kid who has supposedly never dropped a pass in his career in college, in Mekhi Lemon. And I believe it was USC Trojans that he played for. And, I looked at some of his tape, and he does, man. He looks like the real deal. So if he can be the same player he was in college for the Eagles, especially right away, I don't think there's anything to fear. I think the Eagles will be fine. Although, with that being said, the way the rest of this division now has been building around them, Dallas Cowboys, they really changed a lot. With their defense, and we've seen Brian Schottenheimer going into last year. We didn't really know, what that would look like with Brian Schottenheimer being the head coach and what kind of offense, they would have. Obviously, they have one great receiver and another one very, very good on the edge of great with George Pickens, and obviously CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott. Javonte Williams, the revival of him last year, that looked great. They have a couple of really good, talented younger running backs behind Javonte. But this defense, I think this defense is going to be, is going to be one of the better defenses in the league this year. So that's going to be tough for Philly. The Giants, though they have had multiple injuries to receivers already, they just brought back Odell Beckham. Now, I don't know what he's going to look like now. Man, it's been a long time. But if he can look anything close to how he was when he was with the Giants back in the day, that's saying a lot for him, and saying a lot for the Giants offense with Jackson Dart. And they're going to have Cam Scadaboo's going to be ready. Malik Neighbors, they don't know. They had to apparently go back in and kind of mess with the nerves again in his knee and clean it up a little bit. So I don't know realistically if he's going to be ready to play at the start of the season or even by halfway. This is a delicate situation with a kid that looks like he could be a premier wide receiver and one of the best in the league for the foreseeable future. So I think you need to take your time with him. I believe they also brought in, I know Braxton Berrios, just as like a depth receiver. He's decent. He's nothing, that would worry defenses really, I don't think. And then I believe they also signed Juju Smith-Schuster. And then obviously they have their tight end from last year who started coming on towards the middle to the end of the season last year. And then they went out, brought in Patrick Ricard from the Baltimore Ravens, came over with John Harbaugh. And obviously Isaiah Likely, who has really, I think he would already be a household name had he not have been playing behind probably also a future Hall of Famer in Mark Andrews. So again, and their defense last year was pretty good, and they've only gotten better in the offseason. Yes, they did lose Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals, but they still have a young core. They still have, I think what's going to be a really good defense and a really good offense. Washington, we don't know how they're going to look, especially defensively. I believe that Bobby Wagner is still a free agent. Von Miller is still a free agent. I don't know that they're going to resign either one of them. But if they can get back Jaden Daniels, a healthy Jaden Daniels, and get them back on track how they were the first year with Jaden, and if they can get that defense better, which you would think that they would with their head coach being a defensive guy, it might be a tough year for Philly. It might be a tough year, but offensively, with the receivers that they have, I'm just saying I think that the receiving core is going to be a little bit better than we may expect. Even minus an A.J. Brown, it is in a completely different offense. And, so that's everything NFL. So, as you just seen, those are my picks. For Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight, I am going to take the New York Knicks. So, this means that I do think the Spurs are going to lose that record, which was 6-0 all-time in Game 1 of NBA Finals. However, Game 2, which is going to be on Friday night, I believe the Spurs will win that second game in New York. Then I believe on Monday night, they will go home to San Antonio and win their second consecutive game, and I believe they will be up 2-1 after 3 games. NHL, last night, I honestly would have told you I was going to take Carolina, so I'll take an L there. Now, Thursday night, I do believe Carolina is going to come back strong. I believe Frederick Anderson is going to stand on his head, and I believe this defense really is going to crack down and get back to how they had been playing prior to last night and prior to, the one outlier game, which was the game against Montreal in the last round, the first game. And I think they're going to take Game 2 in Carolina. And then Saturday night, when it switches to Vegas, I believe Carolina will win that one as well. So I also believe after the first 3, Carolina will be up 2-1, just like San Antonio, I believe, will be up 2-1 after 3. So, let's see, what else? The last thing I got here today in sports history, on June 3rd in 1967, Bill Schumacher won the 99th Belmont Stakes aboard Damascus in 2 minutes, 28 seconds, and 8 milliseconds. In 1980, the New York Mets drafted 18-year-old Darryl Strawberry as their number 1 pick. In 1991, Thomas Hearns captured the WBA light heavyweight title. In 1995, on June 3rd, Montreal Expos pitcher, you may have heard of him before, Pedro Martinez loses his perfect game in the 10th inning when San Diego Bip Roberts leads off with a double and Montreal won 1-0. I'm sorry, a double and San Diego would have won 1-0. In 2012, Tiger Woods ties Jack Nicklaus's record, winning his 73rd PGA Tour victory with a 2-stroke win over Andres Romero and Rory Sabatini in Memorial Tournament at Murfield Village. And then in 2018, Golden State Warriors guard, you may have heard of him, Steph Curry, breaks Ray Allen's NBA Finals record for the most three-pointers with 9 in the Warriors' 122-103 Game 2 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals that year, I believe, right? And I believe that was LeBron and Kyrie. Maybe I'm wrong. Actually, I think Cleveland won that series. But that's neither here nor there. It was today in sports history. It's not about who won it. It's about that stat that happened on this day back in 2018. And so that's going to be everything I got for today, guys. And again, remember to follow Elite Sports Talk. You can watch the videos, the podcast episodes on YouTube and Rumble. You can just listen if you want on wherever you can find podcasts, especially on Spotify. Also, follow the Facebook page for Elite Sports Talk. Right now, I am up to almost around 500,000 viewers. I appreciate everybody and anybody that follows that page. I'm trying to get better with IG, although we are on Instagram as well. Like I said, hopefully right now I'm also streaming live on TikTok because I tried to connect it to my restream, along with Kick and Twitch, where you can also see me live stream. And also, engage, guys, engage. Anything that I say, that if you watch the episodes, you listen to the episodes, shoot me messages. Let me know what you think about my takes and, the different things that I talk about on the show. If you want to hear stuff about other sports, I may be talking a little WNBA coming up soon to get me through the summer until the NFL starts. And also follow my Substack page, and that's it. I hope everybody enjoys the game tonight and the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals, and I'll be back after the weekend.